Welcome in everyone to the NZ Crafty. My name is Crafty. I am a New Zealand based streamer. I'm a New Zealand based variety streamer. So I do Lego, diamond painting, I do paper crafts with my Cricut machine just over here, and a lot of other stuff. I hope that you will follow and keep updated with what I'm doing. But today we are going to be looking at what books I read in the month of June. So let's switch cameras and take a look. Alright, I'll just put that over there. So the first book that I finished in the month of June was A Mind of Her Own by Danielle Steele, and I gave this book a 5-star. So this is of a young lady, a girl whose parents were in the medical field. It was based in World War II, and when her parents first married, they ran a medical clinic, and it is based in France. So they ran a medical clinic. They had their daughter, and then World War II broke out, so they went to the front lines as medical staff to run a hospital there. Both her parents died, and then her paternal grandmother died, and then her paternal grandfather died. Maternal grandfather died, and he left her his newspaper business to run, and she'd always been interested in writing, and so this book follows her life and how she took on running the newspaper business that her maternal grandfather had left her. Really enjoyed it. So that was that one. So the next book that I read in the month of June was The Pumpkin Spice Cafe by Laurie Gilmore, and I rated this. This was another 5-star book that I read. Now, this book is... Okay, so Jeannie's aunt leaves her the Pumpkin Spice Cafe. She decided that she wanted to retire, and so Jeannie took it over, and she started having little things happening that she couldn't explain. And it turned out that the person doing all these little unexplained events was one of her staff members, who actually thought he would have taken over the cafe when the aunt retired, but he ended up leaving. And then in all this, Jeannie started seeing one of the local farmers, and it then follows their relationship, and they ended up getting married. So that was another good book. So another 5-star book. So the next book I read in the month of June is in the same series as The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. This one is The Christmas Tree Farm, again by Laurie Gilmore. This one, what did I give this one? I gave this one a 4-star. So I didn't think it was quite as good as The Pumpkin Spice Cafe. Now, The Christmas Tree Farm is about a Christmas tree farm. It is about a young girl whose name is Kira, and she buys the Christmas tree farm, and she thought she could run it on her own, except it was a bit bigger of a project than she expected. And so, but yeah, a young man by the name of Bennett comes and helps her, and they manage to get it off and running, and it also follows their relationship as well. So as I say, not quite as good as Pumpkin Spice Cafe, but it was still a good read. Now the next book that I read in the month of June was Texas Outlaw by James Patterson. I had, earlier in the year, I had read another book in this series by James Patterson, and I'm just trying to think of the name of it. Let's have a look. I can't find the name of it, and I think the one I'm thinking of was called... No, I can't find the name of the book So there are James Patterson has 3 books in a series, his Texas Ranger series, and this I've read. So I've read one other. This was the second in the series. Now this one I gave a 4.5 star. So the Texas Ranger series follows a young Texas Ranger by the name of Rory Yates. Now in this one, he meets his girlfriend Willow Dawes is a country singer. In this one he meets somebody else, and he realizes that his relationship with Willow isn't what he wants, and they end up coming to a mutual understanding. But in this one, let's see. That's right. He gets sent to a remote West Texas town called Rio Lobo to investigate the death of a councilwoman. And there's a lot going in the background with drugs and things like that. And local detective Ariana Delgado helps him solve the death of the journalist who died, the councilwoman who dies. But in the meantime, Rory and Ariana get into trouble as well, because the person running the drugs makes it look like Rory and Ariana are the people causing the issues. So that was definitely an interesting read. So the next book I read in the month of June was The Strawberry Patch Pancake House. Again, another book by Laurie Gilmore. Now, this one I gave a 3.5 star. And this is about a young man who finds out somebody he slept with 5 years ago has died and had a 5-year-old daughter. And it turns out the daughter had a 5-year-old child. Excuse me one. Sorry about that. So Archer finds out that a one-night stand he had 5 years earlier had passed away. And hey, Scotty Rotten, how goes it in your corner of the world, my friend? I hope all is well. For those of you who don't know, Scotty Rotten is a local streamer here on Twitch. So go check out Scotty Rotten. So again, so Archer finds out that his one-night stand had a 5-year-old daughter, and it turns out the daughter is his. And so he moves back to the US to look after, to become the child's, or to actually be in the daughter's life. He gets a live-in nanny to look after the his daughter while he's at work, and it turns out that there is a connection there, and they end up in a relationship. And in the meantime, he is working at a diner that gets renamed Strawberry Patch Pancake House. So another good book. As I say, not quite as good as the others in the series. Then, while I was away, not a great day, dealing with some minor drama, sorting Lego and keeping my mind off nonsense. Oh, Scotty, I'm sorry to hear you're dealing with some drama. But I hope you managed to get all the drama sorted out. Either that or keep away from it. So you're enjoying being back at work, Scotty? So the 6th book I read in the month of June was called House of Earth and Blood by Sarah Mars. Now this one I gave a 5-star. So it's about a party girl and her best friend. And her best friend ends up dying, and so Bryce ends up in a bit of a spiral. And after 2 years, nothing to worry about. Good to be... Yeah, I can imagine it is good to be back at work, Scotty. So I'm pleased that the drama isn't anything to worry about. But yeah, after 2 years after Bryce's best friend Danica dies, she is still a bit of a party girl. But something happens and she ends up reconnecting with an investigator from when her best friend died, and they end up having it's the start of the beginning of their relationship, and they become very close. And in the meantime, Bryce kills the local governor, and the investigator she connects up with, Hunt, he kills his local governor. So, this is a bit of a fantasy. So, Bryce is a fairy, Hunt is an angel, there are werewolves, and a couple of other included in that. And so after they have after Bryce has killed her governor and Hunt has killed his, they were expecting to get a lot of flack from, or end up with charges in relating to the murders. That doesn't happen. And the resulting reason as to why that doesn't happen is in the next book. But we will have a look at that one soon. So the last book that I read in the month of February was Texas Ranger by James Patterson. So this is the 3rd in the series that James has written on Texas Rangers. Again, it is based on a young officer called Rory Yates, and his ex-wife dies or is murdered. And Rory originally thought that it was his ex-wife's lover, but it turns out it wasn't. Or in the process, once he thinks it's his ex-wife's lover, then an ex-girlfriend of his then dies, is murdered as well. And he figures that in the murders, the only connection to both murders is him, because he knew both people. And it turns out his high school sweetheart was doing the murders because she wanted Rory back. And once he figures out that it's her, there's a big, she drives a truck over to his place trying to take Rory out. And to avoid being taken out, he ends up taking the high school sweetheart out. And his ex-wife's lover was killed in the process, and he is then buried next to Rory's ex-wife. But yeah, really interesting book. Now this one I gave a 4-star. Not quite as good as the other two in the series, but I really enjoyed it. So let's just have a look here. Right, I'm just going to quickly run a ad. Let's see if that will run the ads. There we go. So while the ads are rolling, I will get myself sorted here for one moment. So, are you getting that 60-second run of ads, Scotty? Okay, so ads are finished. So the book that I am taking into the month of July is in the same... Actually, I've got to change my scene so you can see what I am going on about. So this is the book that I'm taking into the month of July. It is the first book in the Crescent City series. Sorry, Scotty, I was just asking if the ads had finished. But after I'd asked the ad, I then saw the Siri was telling us ads had finished. So, all good. So this is the first in the Crescent City series. And so in July I am taking reading this. House of Earth and Blood is the first book in the Crescent City series, and I am taking House of Sky and Breath into the month of July. As you can see, I am roughly about halfway through it, and so far I would say it is about a 4.5-star book, or 4 3/4 if I could give it that. So it's following the two main characters, Bryce and Hunt, and they are dealing with tension in the city where they live. So again, really interesting. It will be interesting because there's actually a third book in this series, and I will be interested to read that one as well. So those are the books I read in the month of, where are we? June. So not many, but it was definitely an interesting month of reading for me, considering I had to go back to where I'm from to spend some time with my in-laws, as my father-in-law hadn't been well. So that is the month of June. So just a quick stream today.